there's a lot to talk about. We got this winter tour coming up, which is very exciting. What can you tell fans about that tour? Like hints about the set list, or what can fans expect with these shows?
Well, it's going to be it's probably going to be the obvious things, but it's Rainbow, Alcatrazz, and some of my solo stuff, along with probably a bit of Michael Schenker. So it's all the sort of the songs I've recorded with different bands, really, and it's a very interesting set. And I love it because every song is so kind of different from each guitar player, I should say, I guess, because Michael's a really great arranger. His melodies are great. He's a great player. Played with him recently, probably a year ago, isn't it now, or something, but probably a bit more.
Oh, no, I think it's been a bit more than that.
It's about 2 years. Yeah, but, and so it's been great to play with him again and actually be on stage and last the night out instead of getting really drunk and falling over. Hey! And other things, when I was in the Michael Schenker band for about 10 minutes on the first show we did after I made the album with him. And anyway, but it's a bit of everything. And so far, I think we've chosen the right songs, because everywhere we go, I'm very surprised. I think Bethany is too, the way the audience seem to know all the freaking verses, not just the choruses. Usually everybody sings along with "Since You've Been Gone" or whatever the song might be, but they seem to know also the newer stuff that's come off our last album. The GB band, the Graham Bonnet Band. That album did so well, got great reviews, and the audience seemed to have picked up on it. I mean, the people that are in the audience, and it's great to hear that instead of them just knowing "Since You've Been Gone" and "All Night Long." I understand that, it's obvious. But, it's been really, really good fun. And the band now is so strong. We've got Bethany, we've got Conrad Pessanado, and we have Alessandro Bertoni, and then we got a spaghetti. In fact, an Italian band now. We've got an accordion player, and our drummer is. Are we still using the same guy?
We're using Kyle Hughes.
Yeah, Kyle Hughes.
Cool.
Who's great, and he's 25 years old, so he's the baby.
He just turned 26.
Oh, is he?
He's really funny. He has a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
So
he's a great drummer. He's fucking fantastic.
He's the entertainment when the entertainment isn't working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
But anyway,
fantastic.
And everybody is when we played in Japan not so long ago, everybody was just saying this is the best we'd ever heard, the music played by these particular musicians, and it's I think after the last album, I think we really listened to what we're actually playing and what we're actually doing. I'm concentrating more than I used to, because I just used to blow through the songs like, it's on autopilot, but now I'm really listening to what I do, and I think the band is too. I know Bethany is, because we've got to stay tight. Otherwise, people are going to say, that was fucking shit. And the album's good, but they're no good live, And then if it's too good, I think they're lip syncing.
You can't win.
Can't win. Anyway, but it is good.
Very exciting. It's a great time for you right now, because even Since You've Been Gone has been featured in like a major movie as well. Guardians of the Galaxy. We have you're in your own band. You're not having to follow other people or Ritchie Blackmore. How's this feel for you? This era of your career must be feel amazing.
Yeah, it is the best. It's best to. I'm not the leader of the band. I'm just part of the band. I don't want to be a leader. I want to be part of the group. You know what I'm saying? So we all add something to the show and something to the songs we make and record. Not being. I never tell anybody what to do, really, do I? You got to tune in. I'm going to fucking kill you. No, but now it's nice to be sort of the boss, but I'm not. I'm just part of this band that's very important, and everybody in the band is important, from down to the triangle player. Everybody is important, and it's a great feeling to do brand new songs. And as I said before, to see or hear the audience singing back the lyric to songs off the new album, which is amazing to me.
Cool.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, we've only done two videos of from the album. I don't know if you've seen them. Have you?
Yes.
I have, yeah. They're two of my favorite songs, Uncle John and Imposter. Those two, I think they're fucking great. And we did those videos pretty quickly. there was no big production or anything, but they turned out pretty well considering, I think. But the songs are more important than the pictures, I think, sometimes. You know, it's always like, oh, great video, shame about the fucking song. You know what I mean? And that's thing. That's what God Bless Video was about. You know,
Well, people tend to listen to music with their eyes when they watch a video.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
anyway,
and
yeah.
it definitely, you can build upon both. You know, it gives more to the music, and the music gives more to what you're seeing. It's a cool kind of the both working together. Now, I want to talk about, we were talking about everything. You were talking about how with this band, you know, you're playing a little bit of everything live. Now let's start from the beginning. All right. I love your singing. Did opera have a big influence on you as a singer?
As a kid, he did. Yes, my favorite singer was Mario Lanza. In the 1950s, when I was a little boy, I'd be about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, going around the house. And in those days, obviously, rock and roll had only kind of just started being played on the radio, if any. So you'd hear like Mario Lanza, Perry Como, all the kind of like crooners and opera singers. And Mario Lanza to this day is one of my favorite singers. He got the power that guy had, just fucking incredible. And the tone he had in his voice. So anyway, I used to sort of copy his voice, emulate his voice as close as I could when I was 5 or 6. And my mum and dad loved hearing me sing like that. It made them laugh. So I would keep doing it because it entertained my mum and dad, you know. So I'd be going around, you know, singing with my big loud voice like I had when I was a kid. And that's pretty much where I got my influences from, was from what I would call a real singer who had great control over his breathing, over his power, and the emotion that he had. I think Mario Lanza was better than most opera singers. He was sort of poo-poo because he made commercial movies. You know, he was in horrible movies, but the voice, just to me, you know, forget the fucking movie. You know, he was just Mario Lanza. Yeah, I mean, you know who I'm talking about. He's just the best of opera singers to me.
I got to revisit. I know the name, you know, there's a lot. I have to do a lot of homework in my music history.
Yeah,
Opera is on the list, though.
I didn't know who he was when I was a kid. I just know I liked his voice, you know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Now the Marbles.
A lot of people would say he was probably one of the best vocalists ever.
Wow.
He really was. He died very young, as all opera singers seem to do, from a heart attack, I think.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Interesting. Now the Marbles was that was your first band?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn as a singer from being in the Marbles?
Well, that was my cousin and I. We were a duo, and we were sort of labeled the British Righteous Brothers at the time, which, okay, you know, because the Righteous Brothers were kind of like R&B, soul kind of thing. And Barry Gibb wrote that song for my cousin and I because my cousin Trevor was in the Bee Gees in Australia. It was called Trevor Gordon and the Bee Gees. So the Bee Gees were kind of his backing band, but he played lead guitar and sang lead vocals. And that was when he lived in Australia with the Bee Gees boys living there too. But they moved over to England, and later my cousin moved over to England. Well, the Bee Gees suddenly became very big with New York mining disaster, I think was their first big hit. In the event of something happening to me, that song. And then my cousin came over and he joined up with me and my garage band, so to speak. And we played in London. And one night in the audience was the Bee Gees' ex-manager from Australia. And because he knew Trevor, my cousin, he came up to him and said, I think the boys would like to hear from you. That's the Gibb brothers. So my cousin Trevor got in touch with Barry. He gave me his telephone number and got in touch with Barry, and Trevor went over to see him. And Barry said, I want to work with you again, Trevor, and have you do, you know, your own solo career. And my cousin said, well, my cousin Graham sings as well. And so I went over in a couple of days later and we took out the guitars and started singing a bit of everything. I mean, it was a magical night, I must say, because like the Beach Boys and the Beatles and the Stevie Wonder and a bit of R&B here and there, and all of these guys singing in harmony was fantastic. It was one of the best nights I've ever had. And the manager of the Bee Gees was in the house at the time, and he said to Barry Gibb, he said, "Do you have a song for these boys, Barry?" And Barry said, "What? Oh, sure, So Barry made up a melody, and we went in next day to IBC Studios in Portland Place in London, and I did like a a thing with no words. And Barry went away for a day and came back with some words, and we made this song called Only One Woman, which went to #3 in the chart in England. And well, I mean, that was kind of the start of the career of me and my cousin, Well, Trevor had his own career anyway, but I'm saying of the Marbles, I should say. And it sort of carried on from there, because Barry wrote another song called The Walls Fell Down, and we did very well with that. So that's where I kind of got the job from Rainbow. My song came up, they were playing a game of Spot the Tune, the guys in Rainbow in Switzerland. And Ritchie said, where is this guy? My song came on, my cousin and I's song came on the cassette player. Where is this guy now? And somebody said, oh, I don't think he's singing anymore. I think he's lost his voice. Anyway, they got in touch with me, and I auditioned for Rainbow, because of that song that Barry wrote. So
wow.
I'm always thankful to Barry, and I always will be.
Wow. You were doing like commercial jingles during that time when they were trying to recruit you, right? Yeah.
It was.
What was that time like in your life?
That was horrible. All right, but I tell you what was the good thing about it was the money. In those days, to get £2,000 for like 2 minutes of singing was incredible. This is whatever the hell it was, 1970 something. And so I did some for Ritz crackers, ski yogurts, Mitsubishi.
Levi, right?
Yeah. A bunch of different things. And somebody said to me, on one of the sessions, the producer said, I'll tell you who he was. He was, David Essex, the singer. Have you heard of him? He had what was that song he had?
Rock On.
Rock On. Yeah,
I think so.
Called Rock On. He was very big in England, and his producer was producing the commercials I did. And he said to me, I like you to do these commercials because you have so many different voices. If I tell you to sing like 1920s, you can do it. If I want you to sing like Little Richard and really raucous, he said you can do that too. And if I want you to sing sweetly, So I've been very lucky that I can change, tones and whatever it may be. I think Bethany will agree with that.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of different voices.
Yes,
He can sing so clear, sweet, and pretty, and then he can have that gravel. He can turn on a dime too. It's amazing.
It depends on what the song is. Yeah, it depends on what the song is. If it's sort of, you think, oh, it needs this, push it over the top. I remember that George Martin said to John Lennon, when they were doing Twist and Shout, that was like their first really big hit, I think. He said to John, no, you sound too nice. So he made John sing it over and over again until John was getting kind of croaky, but he did it anyway. So he goes, shake it up, baby, now, because he wanted to do it like
wow.
Isley Brothers. Because in the Isley Brothers original, the singer goes, hey, he croaks. And George Martin wanted John to croak in the same kind of way. And it worked for the very last verse.
Wow. I didn't know that. I feel like you've done so much, and that's helped you so much. Even these like jingles or whatever, you're doing that. Then you're doing like heavy metal, which must have felt like whiplash.
Sorry, what?
Which must have felt like whiplash going from these jingles, to what? Rainbow? Is it a band? What did you buy their records and like figure out who they were?
Yeah, you know the story. I had to buy the records. God, no clue who they were. I didn't know. I knew who Deep Purple were, and I was told that Ritchie Blackmore and Roger Glover were originally in Deep Purple, and Ritchie changed the band's name after Deep Purple sort of tanked and made it Rainbow. And I don't know why, because it seems such a wimpy name to me. It almost sounds like a country band or something. Rainbow, sort of.
It really does.
Hey, I got the job because of that song that Barry wrote, Only One Woman, for me and my cousin. And Ritchie said, where is this guy? So I went over and auditioned and got the job, which is kind of what happened in a nutshell. Yeah.
Wow.
But it was very daunting, I guess I would say, when walking into the rehearsal room where they were recording. It was in a chateau. It was in a chateau, chateau in Switzerland. And it was all very, everybody had to record in a castle or a dungeon or something. That was the thing back then, Otherwise, you didn't get the vibe, man, It's ridiculous. Because you're in the middle of nowhere. And, because we're in the middle of nowhere, you can't do anything. You've got to record. And instead of just recording, you go fucking, you go stupid because you can't do anything. And there's a little village down the street, I remember, and that's where we would go at night and get fucking shit-faced, basically. But we recorded there. When I first went into the room where the drums and everything else was all set up, I was so nervous. The microphone was waiting for me there. You know this story. The microphone was waiting for me there, and they said, "Okay, Graham, let's do the song." And it was a song called "Mistreated," and because I was nervous, I thought I better not sing on microphone in case I fuck up. And so I just sang off mic, in the middle of the band, sort of thing, all the keyboards and the whole fucking thing. And Cozy playing the drums like from hell, killing. And it was, it went through very well the first time. And then said, let's do it again. So we did it again. And they were, this is okay, it's going well. And I didn't use a microphone again. And then Don Airy, the keyboard player, said, "Hey, Graham, how about singing on the microphone this time?" He said, "We can hear you, though. How come we can hear you over all this? You got the Hammond, Cozy playing the fucking drums, everything very loud. That's why I'm deaf now, Was that me? Who said that? So it was, I was very happy. And when I sang it on microphone, the people that were with the boys in the band, there was a couple of girlfriends there, and some of our crew, some of their crew at the time, they came out. There was a balcony above this room where we were recording, and they all came out. And they're all looking over the balcony and looking down at me, and they're all going, "Give me the thumbs up," and laughing and smiling. And Ritchie said, "The job's yours, Graham, if you want it." So
wow.
I accepted the offer, but at first I wasn't,
Yeah.
I thought I was right somehow.
How do you recall the first Rainbow show you did?
Again, it was a little bit nervous, very nervous. And I remember we drove up to this stadium or whatever the hell it was, and outside were loads of people. I thought, Jesus Christ, what is this? Who's playing tonight? Oh, it's Rainbow. Oh, fuck. Of course, we were headlining, but I'd never seen a crowd like that before. And somebody had drawings of all of us on big pieces of cardboard, all the members of the band, caricatures. And I looked out and there's me. I'm going, "Oh, that's me." Look. I felt so proud, but so stupid at the same time. It's like, oh, look, like a little kid going, "Oh, it's me, woo," whoopee. And I remember getting ready for the show, and Cozy said, "Are you nervous?" I said, "Yeah, a bit." Yeah, he said, and he was nervous, I remember, because it was our very first show. And he said to me, "Do you need to go take a shit? Do you need to go to the bathroom?" He said, Rod always does it. Rod Stewart always takes a shit before he goes. I said, "No, I said, no, I need a piss." I will, yes, I will urinate just to be, to clean it up a bit. And he said, "Yeah, I really never said it." I said, "No, I don't know." Yeah. But as soon as I walked out on that stage, it was so warming to hear that crowd roar. I just thought, fuck, this is for this band. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was just like, oh my God, I'd never had this before. I was a kid who played with my cousin Trevor when we had our first record out to probably like 50 people in a rock club in London. You know what I mean? But this was like, I don't know how many thousand people, but big. It was I can't remember the city we played in now. The first city, Chicago, maybe. I can't remember.
Wow.
But it was just overwhelming, and I just felt very safe. I had the best players in the freaking world behind me, and I thought, well, I can't. How can I go wrong with this? This band is amazing. I can't let them down. I can't let me down. And the night went really well. I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe that I got through without croaking or something, but it was fantastic, and everybody was very happy.
You felt the crowd was very accepting of you after replacing Dio?
Yeah, but you probably know the other story about those guys that were giving me the finger.
Yeah,
yeah. And
wild.
Bethamy's heard all these stories of people.
Yeah.
They were going, "You fucking faggot," calling out to me, all that kind of shit. But we want Ronnie. Where's Ronnie? Ronnie. There were like 4 or 5 guys out front, right at the front on the left-hand side of the stage. And Ritchie, later in the show, broke into a song called Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, the Shirelle song, And so I took the microphone, sat down the edge of the stage and had the mic in my hand and sang directly at these guys. Tonight you're mine completely. You give your love so sweetly. The lyric. Tonight you're mine, and they just went, they were so surprised that I was so fucking had the bollocks to do that, And I thought they were going to fucking kill me. But they smiled and they laughed. And from that moment on, they were like behind what I was, because I was up there with short hair and a fucking whatever jacket on, I don't know, but I didn't look like the other guys. So that was sort of a count against me, was the way I looked, which is ridiculous, really, when you think about it. I mean, people shake their heads now, who cares? Nobody cares now. And so that was the first sort of drawback I had, was that just feeling a bit unnerved by these people. But I was okay after, I did that little joke on them.
Yeah, well, you have to respect it. And that's why I respect you so much as a singer, because, you're not like, oh, got to put the denim on, got to grow my hair out. You're like, I'm just going to put a blazer on and just do my thing, and that's why so many people respect you and really are like, what? We actually really like Graham. He's just doing his thing. Now, I know you and Ritchie wasn't too much of a fan of that. Do you have any favorite stories connected to Ritchie Blackmore and your hair?
Well, there's one where supposedly, this one, I know, where I supposedly locked in a room so I couldn't go out and get my hair cut. That was one thing, because my hair, we've been on the road for a while, a month or something, and it's long. Yeah, it's long now. I know. I've got my hair cut now.
We had coffee with Colin Hart, their tour manager, and they had a conversation in front of me about this supposed experience where Ritchie posted Colin at the door to prevent him from leaving and getting a haircut. And Ritchie said he snuck out a window, when in actuality, he just went shopping with his wife that day, saw a barber shop, thought his hair was too long, and nipped in to get a trim. But the best part of not the real part of the story, not the made up, guard part, is really funny. Tell him what happened when you got on stage that night and Ritchie hadn't seen you yet.
Oh yeah, no. we never used to see each other until showtime. And of course, they did the opening song, the intro to Eyes of the World. And when I walked on, he turned towards me and went, he was in shock when he saw me walk on, because I had my hair cut. It was neat again. It wasn't all scraggly. And when you have short hair, you have to have it cut all the fucking time, which is a drag. I know. That's probably one of the reasons I grew my hair out, years ago in the 70s. I was a bit more of a hippie then. And anyway, he saw me and stepped back in amazement, so to speak, went behind the stack of it, behind the marshals. And when you see him for the rest of the night, he played behind the fucking stack.
At the meeting the next day.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure he's heard all this. It's I told these stories so many times, this same story. Well, yeah, next day, Colin, our tour manager, came to the door and said, Ritchie wants to see you in his room with the other guys. So we went to Ritchie's room in the hotel, and we all walked in and wondered what the hell was up, And I think Coach said, well, what's up, Bugs? He called him Bugs. What's up, Bugs? What is it? He said, well, it's Graham's hair. And everybody burst into laughter. What? It's like, what the fuck is he talking about? Well, he said, I thought he was kind of being, what did he say? Like rude to him or something? Or
well, I think he thought that you disrespected him because your hair was finally growing a bit.
He thought, He thought I disrespected his opinion of me getting a haircut to look more like him, I guess. I don't know. But that was it. And everybody just, you kidding?
That's great.
Who the hell cares? But, he could be bloody bald for all they cared, And, well, Cozy didn't have really long hair. Well, none of them did really, but they had the, you know, the outfits and all that stuff, and I didn't. And Ritchie was dead against that. You know, he thought I was like some guy in a game show or something, or whatever it may be. I didn't look like the singer in a rock band, or that kind of rock band. I was almost too clean looking, but it's the way it's the way I sing, not the way I freaking look, you know. And everybody just was dead against what Ritchie was saying. It's just like, are you stupid, man? You know, it was just something to say. And very insulting in a way, you know. At the same time, it made me feel like, oh, geez, what's up with this guy? Because I know Ritchie has a problem with hair. Say no more.
Yeah. You have a fair share of working with a lot of weird guitars.
What's that? What, man?
You have a long history of working with a lot of weird guitarists in your life.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a shop where you go. Can I get a weird guitar player, please? I mean, no, I'm sorry, they're all very straight. They all play acoustic. No, that won't do. It's one of those. I don't know why it happens, but there might be weird guitarists, but they're fucking great. I mean, Yngwie was incredible and still is. Steve Vai, amazing, and still is, obviously. Those two guys, I love them to death, and they obviously had their own career coming up. And they were too good for the rest of the band, in a way. You know, I remember Ted Nugent saying to us when we were out on the road with Ted Nugent, we used to open up for him. He said he came in the dressing room after our first show with him, and he points towards me and he says, "Hey," and then to Yngwie, "Don't get rid of him." You know, because Yngwie was the best player in the fucking band.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And Jan Uveen, the two players that were Jan Uveen, the drummer, and Yngwie Malmsteen. The rest of the guys, I can't say little of them enough. They just weren't good enough.
Wow.
I rejected them being in the band at the beginning, but we had to put a band together for the record company. It had to be done like tomorrow. And so my manager said, well, look, there's these two guys that were in a band called New England. And we met them. And so bass player and a keyboard player, so to speak. And so we went with that because we had to get a record done. And if we didn't, we wouldn't get our money. So that's kind of what happened. And I said to him, Andy, that they're not good enough. I said, I'm used to playing with, you know, Don Airey and, you know, sessions with John Lord, you know, not this guy and this bass player. I mean, sorry to say, well, it just wasn't, you know, I can't, that was it, but it didn't happen. And we went out, we made a record, and we did pretty well with those guys.
Yeah, totally. Amazing thing summed up. And I know you mentioned you've heard the story before. It's just somehow just gets funnier every time you tell it. Because it's so, I just can't believe it. You know what I mean? Like the amount of just things you've gone through, even with like Yngwie and stuff, which we'll get into. But I just want to cover a couple more things till we get into like Alcatrazz. The first thing is I'd love to know, how do you reflect on your exit of Rainbow? I'd love to know your feelings.
Yeah, well, I was very happy about getting out of Rainbow because Cozy left. The very last show we did was a thing called Monsters of Rock in England, which is fucking huge. And I was so disappointed that Cozy was going to leave the band because we were very close. You know, he was the best drummer ever, a great friend too. And he was going to leave. Yeah, no, it's sort of, he's still my close friend. He's with me every day and we talk about him, don't we? Me and Beth, we talk about him constantly. She always says, I wish I'd have met him. She was watching something yesterday.
I wish I could have played with him.
Yeah.
Just one time. That would have been amazing. His feel is unparalleled. It just, you know, it goes right to the heart.
Wow.
He played the song. He wasn't just a drummer. He played the freaking song. He listened. You know, a lot of musicians who are in a band like we are, you know, sort of the heavy rock band, so to speak, they want to show off as much as they can their talents, you know. But Cozy, he didn't need to show off. He was in the pocket all the time. And he listened to what I was singing. If I pulled back, he would pull back with me. You know, if you slow it up, just a little bit. If it's kind of a bluesy thingy. And he wouldn't just play and say, look at me, I'm a drummer. But leaving that band, him leaving the band was very disappointing to me and, well, to Roger and Don Airy and me. It was just like, what? And I think at that point he joined up with Whitesnake, or was it Jack Bruce? I can't remember. But anyway, he left because he wanted to do something different. And so I was ready to leave because Don Airy said, I'm going to leave the band. It's going to be no good without Cozy. He said, you know, he's our friend and he's a great freaking drummer. How can we play without him? So we set up with Cozy in the Holiday Inn in Leicester it was. We were all staying in Leicester at the time. And trying to convince him to stay. He said, oh, I've had enough. He had enough of everybody, you know. So he went on, whether he's getting paid better, I guess, or whatever, but he wanted to do something different. And I can't blame him for that. So Don Airy says to me, he says, Graham, he says, Cozy's leaving. He said, he's left. He said, I think I'm going to go home. I've had enough of this. It won't be the same without him. Anyway, I said, well, I'll do the same because I agree. So I went home. Don didn't. Don stayed in the band and I left the band by phone, so to speak. They called me, oh, yeah, are you coming back? No, I don't want to do it. As Don left, no, he's staying. And they offered me a deal like, well, what about we get another singer in to sing some songs you probably won't like, and then you do songs you like, you know, which sounded a bit silly to me. I said, no, that won't work. 2 singers? No, I don't want to do that. So I left the band like that. I fired myself. I didn't get fired. I just left. I mean, I wish I had been fired. It would have been easier probably, you know, but I just left. I always wondered, have I done the right thing? Have I really put, you know, stabbed myself in the foot, so to speak? But, you know, I got my band Alcatrazz together and it sort of, no, wait a minute. At that point, I went to Michael. Yeah.
And didn't Night Games come after Rainbow?
Night Games
was after Rainbow, right?
Yeah.
And then you did.
Then I did Michael.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So I did a solo album called Lineup, which Cozy played on, John Lord played on. Oh Christ! Mickey Moody.
Gary Twig.
Huh?
Gary Twig was bass.
Gary Twig, Gary Crazy Legs Twig.
And the guys from Status Quo.
Yeah, the guys from Status Quo, the British band. But the album was really good and I had a song called Night Games that came from the album. And then after that came out, I had a sort of a hit record in England with a song called Night Games. And I went to see, Cozy joined up with Michael Schenker. That's where he went. And I went to see Cozy play with Michael Schenker in Los Angeles. And I couldn't believe it. I'd never heard of Michael Schenker. And I thought, what an incredible guitar player. What great songs, etc., you know. And Cozy came up to me afterwards, after they were done. I was upstairs on the balcony, just, you know, looking at the other band that was coming on the thing. And he said to me, what do you think of the band, Graham? I said, amazing, bloody great. I think he's an incredible guitar player. And he said, yeah. I said, would you like to join this band? I said, yeah, it would be good, yeah.
Wow.
But he was saying, hey, I said, well, you've got a singer. Gary's great. I said, what's up with that? He said, well, we just want to change the sound or something. He said something, it was diplomatic, let's say that. And
wow.
So that was my introduction to the Michael Schenker band. Grand band.
Yeah. That's so cool to know. And it's so it's so funny because the last show you did with that band was pretty iconic with there was like was it a zipper malfunction? Or
that was the first show. I mean, yeah.
Was that the first show?
If only it had been the last.
And last.
First and last.
Yeah.
It was indeed.
How does that even happen?
Well, it was.
I love this story so much.
You want to tell me?
Okay, yeah.
No, I've heard it 50 times.
I know, I've heard it 50 times.
It's so funny. I cannot believe this.
Yeah. Well, you know,
let's make it 51.
We're playing in
whatever.
The Michael Schenker tour, and actually I had 2 teeth missing as well. It's another thing. I'd glued 2. My middle caps had come off, and I had to glue them on with you know, super glue. That was one thing that I was really upset about. Anyway, what happened was Sheffield all ready to go and everything, and after we had did a sound check, I went to get my jacket out of the dressing rooms, and Michael's in there and had locked the door. I said, Michael, he said, I'm sleeping, go away, you know. And I said, what? I need my jacket. I'm in the pub with Whitesnake. So the guys there from Whitesnake, they opened up for us, I think. They were all there in the pub, and I was drinking with them and getting shit-faced. And then I went back and got a bit more shit-faced, but I couldn't get my wallet out of my pocket that was in the dressing room. Michael was being a real shitbag that day. He really was. Because he could have just let me in and get my wallet and still got drunk, I guess. But it was very annoying. And I was like, yeah, you fucking, I was so angry. And so anyway, I had way too much alcohol. And by the time it came around to the actual show, I was fucked. I was absolutely all over the place. And at the front of the stage were all the words to the song, written on pieces of paper. And there were floor monitors down here. And when we came on, the audience pushed forward and all the pieces of paper went.
Oh, no.
Yeah, all my words. And it was to the, some of Gary's songs that he sang, So there was like, I don't know how many songs, but quite a lot. So it looked like wallpaper on the floor, And they screwed it up, and I went, "You fucking!" So I swore at the audience, "You fucking arsehole," whatever. "Oh, you fuck off!" It was backwards and forwards with who's got the best four-letter swear word, and so did they. So did they. I'm still alive after that. But what happened was, we started this one song, whatever the bloody hell it was, I can't remember. But I remember going, "Oh God, this is bloody awful," and wobbled off stage and left the band. I left the band to play what?
You missed the best part about. So you had these custom jeans made, and the zip broke in the middle of a song.
Sorry.
And I guess I love this story because the way he tells it, he says, "Oh, it fell out." And I love to ask him, "Well, what did you do?" And then he says,
"I spun it."
I spun it.
It was like
were you going like commando? You didn't have like underwear?
Always have for years. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, I had these jeans made like the day before in Oxford Street in London. It was a place where you could get jeans made within 1 hour. And they made them very, very thin denim, cheap shit denim. And the zipper just came away from the pants. And hello, good morning, Judge, basically. It was, it's been done before, right? But anyway, that was what led me to walk off stage, I think. Yeah.
Wow, I knew that. I knew bits and parts of that story. I didn't know it was the first and last show.
It was.
Wow, what a way to start and end.
It was.
It's like a perfect.
Well, now luckily that Michael's forgiven me. I've redeemed myself because we've done a few gigs together now, and I've actually got through a whole set of songs with him. And the first night we did play together after all these years, it was smiles all around. I smiled across at him and went,
"It was beautiful."
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And I sang my heart out for him. I really did. And as I said, to redeem myself because I felt like such a fucking arsehole or asshole for doing what I did, But
it's cool to hear.
Where you made a mistake and your friends were there drinking in the bar across the street, and we all got shit-faced, but I shouldn't have. But that's the way it is. Was.
Yeah.
Not any longer.
Yeah, was. Yeah.
Was.
We got underwear now, right?
Hey?
So we got underwear now?
Oh!
All right, cool. Well, we got good zippers, I assume. So
yeah, I got strong stuff. Yeah, I would never have a pair of jeans made in 1 hour again.
Yeah.
Just like tissue paper.
Wow, that's such a good story. Now Alcatrazz, we were talking about Yngwie. Now he joined when he was like only 19. Now how was he discovered for the band?
Well, we auditioned so many players, I can't tell you. We auditioned, I don't know, probably about 10 guitar players who were really, really good. One being from Paul McCartney's band, who we've always been ideal because he was in Wings, Lawrence Juba.
Wow.
Juba. And he wasn't sort of heavy enough or whatever. He was too nice. And also he knew too much about the business. He couldn't fool our manager. See, our manager wanted to pull the wool over our eyes. We were so completely blind to how much we made. etc., who was paying for the transportation that we didn't know we were, you know. So because we lived pretty well on the road, you know, with Alcatrazz, it wasn't shit, you know. So, you know, it's what was the question?
About Yngwie and how did you
Yngwie, how did you discover him?
Yeah. And so Yngwie, well, as I said, we're looking for this guitar player that was like Ritchie Blackmore, and somebody heard from an interview I did in a magazine or something. They read that I was looking for somebody who played like Ritchie, and this guy in a store somewhere, I wasn't there, but said he knew the right guy for the band, and it was Yngwie. And so I spoke to Yngwie on the phone. He said, "Who is this?" He thought somebody was playing a joke on him. I said, "It's Graham. My name's Graham." He said, "Graham who?" And I'm Graham Bonnet. What? You know? So no, oh come on, man. He thought some of his friends were fucking around with him, you know. And I was very, wow, I'm famous now. So I'm very big, you know. So you know, he came along to the rehearsal, and I said to him before he came to rehearsal, learn a song that isn't Rainbow, that is completely divorced from Rainbow. Do one of my songs from my album. And it was a song called SOS that Russ Ballard wrote. And he came in and rehearsed with us for the first time. And he looked like Ritchie. He comes in with the white boots and the, you know, the spandex pants, etc., etc. Ritchie Blackmore, but 19. And played this song SOS. And he was like, bloody hell, that's fucking good. And then he went into, he said, shall we play a Rainbow song now? And we did. It was like unbelievable. We couldn't believe how good this guy was. I mean, he doesn't just play like, you know, all that stuff, all those notes, those scales, this and the other, but he played with feel. That was the difference between him and a million other people who play so-called, you know, heavy metal guitar, whatever you want to call it. And he just played with great soul, great feel. And, you know, as I said, like Cozy played the song, Yngwie played the song, until later, when we got on stage a few months later, the guy wanted to just be on stage alone. He wanted to play through every fucking thing. So that's why Yngwie eventually went, because he got a hold of my throat one night and tried to strangle me. And that was the night we fired him.
Yeah.
That was a terrible thing. It was painful as well, because he tried to, you know, get right into my throat and rupture my throat, basically.
Did it mess up your voice for a while?
No, because one of our crew got hold of Yngwie, put Yngwie's head beneath his arm, under like this, under his arm, said, "You fucking touch Graham again, I'll fucking kill you." And he was serious. He was a big Yugoslavian kid. I'll never forget. Huge, fucking mountain of a kid.
Wow.
Kid, a man, I should say. He was probably in his but he died not so long ago. And he got in and goes, "You touch him again, you fucking cunt." You know, he really, Yngwie was scared. And that night, we got on the bus to come back home to LA. We fired him. We had to. You know, you don't try and strangle the singer. That's not the deal. You don't strangle anybody. You don't break the arms of the drummer, you know, whatever it may be. And he just was asking for it. And he said, "I don't care." And he didn't care, because he knew he was better than the band, so to speak, at the time. He knew
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Crazy. And I think that's so funny how sorry. I just want to say that you were talking about the Wings guitarist and how he was too nice. You really got the complete other end with Steve Vai. You were talking about how you didn't like a guitarist because he was too nice. Yeah. One of the guitarists, where Steve Vai was turned out to be the complete opposite. Funny enough, or Yngwie. Now Steve Vai, you were working with as well. So how was your relationship with Vai?
Great.
Yeah.
In fact, he's we've been in touch with him just a couple of days ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we did, didn't he?
No, but we'll discuss that at another time.
Yeah, we want him to.
Okay, we got the fact checker.
Oh wait. Yeah. Well, anyways. Yeah, I know why now. I had to think about that for a second. He didn't, did he? Yeah, we are in touch, and he was just the best. He was so scared of going on stage with us because of Yngwie's, you know, all that. He said, "I don't play like that." I've said this a million times. I said, "No, you don't play like that. You play like you play," which is so different. He had such a great style and such a a knowledge of music and how to present certain songs and change things around. So instead of going straight ahead, he would take a left turn or a right turn or somewhere down the middle of the edge. Never sort of straight ahead and, oh, here comes the pre-chorus, here comes the chorus, woohoo, and here comes the guitar solo. He always wrote something that was more sort of, it built from the beginning to end. Not all of the songs, but a lot of them he made up in that way with me, So I would have a bit, I would play it to him, play my stuff, and then he said, let me add something to that, and then take it wherever he wanted to. And it was always really good, and his playing on stage was immaculate, really was, because he's so different and fun to watch too, and a very pleasant guy.
Amazing guitarist. Another amazing guitarist is Tony Iommi, and I know I'm not sure if it was Tony reached out to you to potentially be the frontman of Black Sabbath at some point. Is that true?
Yeah, he called me one day, and I thought, I don't know about that. I wasn't sure. I couldn't imagine me somehow in a band called Black Sabbath with the way I look. I don't look very Black Sabbath, I'll have to grow my hair really long and dye dark black and grow a beard or something. I wasn't sure, and I wasn't sure about the music either, because I thought I wanted to do something that wasn't like Black Sabbath. I was so sort of, in a way, heavy in a way, because of the way I write a song, the way my other friends who are guitar players, the way they wrote songs, it wasn't in the typical so-called heavy metal, heavy rock, whatever you want to call it, way. They're always a little bit more sort of classically involved with Yngwie. That was typical Ritchie Blackmore kind of playing. But Steve he was very much a Frank Zappa guitar player. He was very, very inventive, and I loved him. I still do. I think the second album with Steve is my favorite. The second Alcatrazz album, way beyond the first one, because the first one was basically, here we are again, but this is sort of like Rainbow, but it isn't Rainbow. It's Alcatrazz,
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted, was a band like Rainbow, but it wasn't. We almost made it, but Yngwie was gone, so that's when the band really sort of took a dive at one point. Then we got Steve Vai, and it lifted up again. And Steve is a fucking great musician, really is.
Yeah, and you're working with a lot of great musicians now. Like, for example, Day Out of Nowhere is fantastic. Now, what was the writing and recording process of that record?
Well, how did we start that record? Look, let me think.
It usually starts in the bedroom.
Now clean that up.
I don't mean it like that. Like,
okay,
with his guitar, messing around, and he'll invite Conrad over and go, what do you think of this? And Conrad add on to it, and it just builds the two of them. I think they bring the best out of each other, and Conrad, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Conrad was a huge Steve Vai fan. And he even, when I brought Conrad to the band, I played with him in a band earlier, and we were playing Sunset Music Festival or something. And he's like, I can't do it. I got a gig. It's a contest to open up. If you win, you open up for Steve Vai. So wow. I said, all right, that's your hero, go for it. And we got a sub for him or whatever, and he won, and he actually did that. I don't know if Steve realizes that Graham's current guitar player is the guy that won that contest, 15 years ago or something. And
that's so crazy. What a weird coincidence.
Yeah, well, it's part of why I wanted to bring him, because when he and I started working together, he's like, what are we going to do for a guitar player? And he suggested this guy, Mario Parga, that he used to work with. And he's a very good player, but he's kind of like, he's very like flamenco-y in a way. Like he's a Spanish guy, and he's a great player, but the direction we were taking, it wasn't going to work, because we were talking about doing an all acoustic trio, and people want Since You've Been Gone. They want it, and they want it, amplified. So we quickly learned that his concept wasn't going to work. So we were talking about what could work instead. And I'm like, well, you remember Conrad? Because Graham had sat in with us when we played at the Whiskey. My singer, I was in an all-girl band that Conrad actually was in with me, because towards the end I'm like, it doesn't have to be all girl, like it doesn't matter, we're not in our 20s anymore. So our singer was a featured performer and ultimately was the widow of James Brown. Like this girl's got a powerful presence and voice.
Wow.
And so I invited Graham, who has the most powerful voice, to sit in on a couple songs with us. And they did Oh Darlin', and we did No Matter What by Badfinger. And
nice.
End of the set, it was, I don't know if you've ever been to the Whiskey, but you walk down a set of stairs to go onto the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So after the show ended, I walked up the stairs, and he gets mad when I say this, but he was almost like a little kid jumping up and down. He goes, I want to be in a band with you. That was super fun. And I said, I didn't think he was serious, but I said, okay, yeah, let's do that. And he went with his version of Alcatrazz at that point too. Was it Japan or Brazil? Do you remember which?
I don't remember wherever I fired myself.
Yeah. So anyway, I picked him up from the airport, and he said to me, so I fired myself from my band, or I forgot that's how he always says it. And he said, let's get to work. And I said, okay. And I wasn't really planning on doing this, honestly. I was always doing it just as a fun thing on the side because my kids were little then. But it was too fun not to do. I have had the best time with him. I've learned so much from him. I am Graham Bonnet's biggest fan, but I knew nothing about him when I met him. Nothing. And I'm never, ever going to be able to learn. His body of work is so vast. I'll never be able to learn everything. He's played
so vast.
Yeah. But anyway, so when it came time, for a guitar player, I said, let's see if Conrad wants to do it. And we were like in the Three Musketeers instantly. And they really do bring the best out of each other. And the writing process is pretty effortless. Conrad's over here constantly. In fact, we have a corner of the kitchen that we call Conrad's Corner. Because he's like a brother to me. I love him to death, and I'm his biggest fan. I believe in him so much. And he produced he did the book, and we co-produced, because I executive produced and had my say in things, Day Out of Nowhere, and it turned out very well. So, but he brings out the best in Graham, and Graham brings out the best in him.
Yeah, like
so cool.
Yeah, we bought some new equipment. Well, kind of. We bought a microphone that's really good for my voice, because my voice is weird, and certain frequencies of my voice aren't picked up on certain microphones. And this one kind of picks up every fucking, chest voice, throat voice, stomach voice, because in the past, when I was a kid, in the marbles, back then they would bring out like 4 microphones and set them up in front of me and say, try that one, try that one, try that one, try that one. And they never found the right one. It was always like, yeah, it sounds like me, but you don't hear the guts of the voice. And this microphone we have, which I can't remember what the fucking thing is.
Erland. It's an Erland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it picks up everything. You can really hear the body sound, and the way that that record's turned out, that album, I think it's great. I think the sound on it is so fucking good, really is. And especially the vocals, which I listen to all the time to make sure everything's right, and sung with some kind of feeling, or make sure it's all in tune as well. It's I was just so surprised what this microphone could do, and I think it's the best of the 3 albums we've made. I think it's the best sounding album.
I agree.
Yeah, well, Conrad's really honed his production skills since the book. And I almost think it would be worthwhile to re-record the book, with Conrad producing it now, knowing what he knows, and also having that mic and getting, a different keyboard player who can, really play it.
Yeah.
You
have a good keyboard.
Alessandro is incredible.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Wow.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's very good.
Cool. Very, very awesome to hear. Now, as we wrap up here, what's the best way for fans to stay updated with everything you do?
Our Facebook page is kind of where it all happens. We're not great about staying on top of things, but we promote our gigs there, and it's the way to go. And people can write to us directly through Facebook, and there's a whole crew of little admins now that will answer. So
nice.
Yeah.
How have you guys been navigating like the world of streaming and whatnot?
We really haven't done much of that. We're talking about putting it like a Patreon page together and or a Patreon account and doing that. You know, I have millions and millions and millions of what I call gotcha videos because I catch Graham at the most inopportune time. Like he'll be sitting there singing something, playing guitar and singing, and I'll come around the corner with my camera and then I realize, oh, he's naked.
Again.
Yeah, I'll wait. We'll be singing something and coming out of the bathroom and I just have the camera ready. So I have dozens and dozens and dozens of really great footage of him that I would like to share with the world. Some of it I can't, but he sings constantly. He never stops.
Wow.
It's almost annoying. I'm like on the phone, I'm like, oh, sorry. It's just, it never stops. My daughter asked me that when we first got together and, because we were just working together initially and then we had become a couple. And so he moved in with us and my daughter's like, Mom, does he ever stop? And I said, no, he doesn't. Sorry. Because he sings. But I mean, what a blessing, to have that spirit that you can actually put into your art. He does. He's a very spirited man.
Great practice.
I believe her. I'm very spirited.
Graham, has that always been the case? Have you always do you always just sing all the time?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I go around not necessarily singing with a big voice, but just, thinking of melodies or singing old songs to myself, from the 1950s or anything, just to, when I'm happy, I sing, I'm happy most of the time, I think, being happy.
Your whole life, I guess. You've just been like, even the opera and everything. Wasn't that a thing? Your parents were like, you were just like singing opera when you were like 7 years old.
Yeah.
And now all these years later.
He was watching Mario Lanza singing. He was watching a video and I came in the room and there were just tears streaming down his face. Like he gets him. He feels it so deeply.
Oh, man, yeah. It was a couple of years ago. Yeah, I watched that guy sing and I can see where he's, God, I mean, he just places those notes so perfectly. And Mario Lanza, you just got to look at some videos. You'll see what I mean.
I'll check him out.
But you can see where that power comes from. And there's a young man. He's sort of chubby-ish because that's what opera singers seem to be like, chubby or he lost something or other. Anyway, but he had something that a lot of other singers didn't have. That's why he didn't really become popular amongst the opera crowd. He became too commercial, supposedly, because he did some really crappy movies, some terrible movies, girls, but really not very good movies. But he always had great songs in the movies. That's what was his redeeming factor, was having those great songs and that great voice. He sings from, it's not here, God, I'd love to have met him. He sings from his soul. He's just like, oh my God. And I saw him, one video I watched was from the London Palladium, and he just comes out and he just goes into it. It's like, it takes my breath away. I just, when somebody can, what I call really sing, it just, I wish I could do what he did. I really do. I never will. But
such a talent. Amazing. Well, I feel like we brought this interview to a full circle here, talking about opera.
Yeah, well, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, guys, for doing this.
Welcome. You're very welcome. Anytime.
All right, sounds good, man. I'm Brandon Battick, and this is Disturbing the Priest.